Hi folks, Dave Schmidt here. It's the morning of August 8th as I'm doing this recording. Last night's program had some sound problems on Facebook, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you an abbreviated version of what I did on the program last night. I started out first of all giving an update of our currency exchange, and we've got some very positive news because I'm actually getting input from my brokers who are saying that there is a high probability that funds will start being released and from late September to the end of the year. Now let me read what they said. It says, we have been instructed that sufficient monies to pay for the first two redemption program stages mentioned above are held in bank accounts in Western countries, awaiting release by the two national governments presently controlling the program. Currently, we have been advised of procedures leading to final settlement of historical bonds or currencies, and that's us, lodged in the official redemption program said to commence between mid to late September and the end of this year. And it says, please be aware this was an expression of opinion only and is not a firm commitment by the controlling authorities. But I can say this, if Mr. Harris is putting that out, that means he has some very good certainty that in late September to the end of the year, we're going to start seeing the funds released. And remember, this is not just for the dong currencies, it's also for those of you that turned in and purchased bonds as well. Now, I'm not exactly sure the process of that. I don't know if they are going to pay bonds first or if the bonds will come after the dong. What I am hearing is that the bonds will be paid after the dong, and I know this is a change from what I told to you, but you have to remember, I do not set the rules for how funds are released. It's basically the funders that do that. So that is the high probability. Now, if you're still interested in purchasing more dong, it looks like the window is beginning to shorten, and all you need to do is send me an email request and I will send a payment link back to you. The default I use is that you're purchasing 5 million dong and it's going to cost you $312. And remember, the dong is scheduled to pay out at $1.50 per dong. So as of now, there's no limit on how much you can purchase, is because the funders, they keep investing their funds so their account continues to grow. So as of now, if there comes a cutoff date, I will let you know through a newsletter. But that's what's happening. So now, what's happening elsewhere? In this week, we've had a huge market volatility. On Monday, the Dow dropped over 1,000 points in one day. And for Japan, it was the single largest single-day drop in the whole complete history of their market. The previous large day was in October of 1987, and this one surpassed that. Now, in the 3 days since then, about 70 to 80% of that has come back. So there has been a recovery, but this is very normal. It's what's called buying the dip. When the market dips, there are buyers of the market that see this as an opportunity to jump in and get the stocks or whatever at a lower price, and it will drive it back up. But the key is, does the buying the dip hold, and does it go back up to where it was and surpass it? And so far it hasn't, but it's been very volatile. Now, why am I saying this? Because there have been a number of people that are projecting that we are ready to go through a huge market drop because our markets are very unstable and they're unsustainable in the way that we've been doing it. We've been running it, and most of this is because we're based again still on a fiat currency system. Now, also, so what this does for us is that our currency exchange and the release of these funds, to a certain degree, it's not total, but to a certain degree, it is dependent upon the current fiat currency system basically falling apart or being unstable, if that's the right word to use. Ben Fulford has talked about this a lot. He says the current Khazarian mafia currency system is on its way out. It's falling apart, and it's only a matter of time before the fiat system is going to be replaced by asset-backed currencies. Now, what I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and read to you some of the stuff that has come out of some recent, in the last couple of days, some recent postings that I read. Now, I'm going to read to you from Ben Fulford, and remember, he put this out on Monday in response to what Monday's market scenario was. So, all right, okay, that one didn't work. Here we go. I got to reset this. There we go. The sudden drop in the Japanese stock indexes and the rise in the yen is a clear sign the Khazarian mafia is being kicked out of Japan. Keep your eyes out for the news that the fake U.S. ambassador Rahm Emanuel is fleeing the country. We will keep an eye on the situation and put out reports if necessary. Otherwise, please expect a video update on Friday. And this is Fulford's report. Japan's stock market suffers the worst losses in history. The Nikkei 225 stock index closed at 31,300 points today, dropping by 4,500 points or 12.7%. This is the largest single-day drop in the index's history, surpassing the previous record of October 87. He says stocks are down across Europe. Major trading halts transactions for 24 hours. The Russian stock exchange saw losses of up to 1.5%. Paris fell 2.1% and London was down 1.7%. Trading was suspended in Istanbul Stock Exchange after the index fell 6.7%, and that's as the Japanese market saw its worst Monday since 1987. And then he goes on and talks about other stuff. He talks about how Bitcoin has had a massive drop. It was at 70,000 a high recently, and it's now at 51,000. I'm rounding those numbers. Silver's down, gold is down, and he says this could be the beginning of the financial meltdown. This week is going to be a wild ride in the global financial markets. Market carnage amid a looming U.S. recession and a possible new war in the Middle East. And it says also over $1 trillion has been liquidated from the cryptocurrency market in the past 24 hours. People took out over $1 trillion of the cryptocurrency market. And it said Bitcoin is down to 52.5 when it was at 70,000. Now, I read to you the comments from Carter Harris. Now I want to read to you the comments from Areno group that I'm associated with. And the general question is, what's delaying this payout? We're in the middle of a monetary paradigm shift, whether we like it or not. This moment we find ourselves in is the result of a confluence of upstream factors. We are the inheritors of a monetary experiment that began in 1971 with the first free-floating fiat currencies. We have witnessed global debt and government spending reach extraordinary levels at a breathtaking pace. We have watched central banks unsuccessfully attempt to financial engineer economic outcomes. We have experienced the internet uniting global trade and commerce in ways never imagined. We have seen the dawn of digital currencies, cashless societies, and encrypted currencies that exist outside of sovereign authority. We have lived through a global pandemic and are still wrestling with its fallout, which includes the highest recorded inflation levels since the new era began. For the first time in a long time, the question, what is money, isn't an obscure topic for ivory tower economists. It's a question of existential importance for our generation and the ones that come after. For those of us who see the damage and destruction wrought by the rampant government spending, unlimited fiat currency printing, and the full-on politicalization of our current currency, the answer is clear. We need a solution that strikes at the root of our problem, and as asset participants, that's those of us in the exchange, we are in the queue. We are waiting for the global money reset. Now, this is not the global currency reset. The global money reset, which requires sound assets behind our new money, i.e. asset-backed currencies. Once the assets backing the new money are properly in place, then the reset will happen. This appears to be why the delay is happening. Once the asset backing process is complete, and we are being told that it is underway, it's my opinion that the payout will launch. We will then witness emerging prosperity around the world as infrastructure and jobs created by commercial humanitarian projects manifest themselves exponentially. The key of what he is saying there is asset-backed currencies. It's important to know that our funds that are sitting in the Texas processing office are asset-backed. And that's the shift and change, because we're going to see asset-backed currencies moving in and replacing the fiat system. Here's an interesting thing to note. In the United States, we had gold backing our currency, and then in 1971, Nixon took us off the gold standard. And it's been since then that inflation has taken off. From the early parts of the 1900s up to 1971, there was very, very, very little inflation. The purchasing power of $1 in 1971 compared to around 1910, it only had lost about 5 cents of its purchasing power. Since 1971, when we went based on fiat currency with no assets backing it, until today, the purchasing power of our dollar has dropped 96 cents, which means $1 today is only worth 4 cents compared to what it was in 1971. And so it's been coming off of that asset-backed currency, which has created most of our monetary problems. For those of us that are in our 60s or even approaching in the 70s, we can go back to the late 1950s and 1960s, and we can remember a time when one member of a family, most likely it was the father, could be working a labor-based job that did not require any college education. And the income from a one-earner family could support the whole family. They could buy a house, buy a boat, and send their kids to college on a single-earner family. That's how well we were doing when we were still in basically asset-backed currencies. And we're nowhere close to that today. You and I know it takes two earner families, and sometimes even buying a house is difficult, and sending your kids to college, boy, you got to have some government assistance to be able to do that. That's the way that it is for the vast majority of what is called middle-class Americans. So we're seeing this shift, but remember, for those of us in the currency exchange, this is the shift that was required for us to replace the current system. Now, it's important to know that these funds coming our way, that it's not about us getting rich. We are the trailblazers. We are on the front side of the people who are going to help shift the economic change of this world. When the funds are released to us, the funders are going to say, we want you to go and spend your money. Now, obviously, you need to take care of your family. You need to take care of your retirement. Put some money in a pension fund so that's going to set aside so that you'll have a stable retirement. Make sure your children are taken care of. But after that, don't hoard your money. Be willing to go out and spend it. Because here's why. It's the spending of this asset-backed currency that is going to completely take over the current system, and it's going to push out and replace this fiat-based system. And as we spend money, we are going to basically totally shift and change the global economy, and we're going to start putting countries on par with each other all around the world. That's the intent, is to have a fair-based economy all around the world, instead of having a few rich countries while the rest of the world is basically in poverty. That is already underway, and it's underway by the BRICS countries as they are increasing their middle-class standards of living, and they are basically replacing our current Khazarian mafia fiat-based system. We are a part of the process of that change with the currency exchange. And as I reported to you earlier, we've been waiting for this I've been in this now for over 10 years. And we've been waiting a long time. And I shared with you why, the payout, because we've been waiting for the current assets to come into place. And it looks like we're almost there. And according to my brokers in Carter Harris, who work with the Texas Processing Office, there's a very high probability we are going to see our funds starting to be released in late September to the end of the year. Now, it's important to know we have no idea how and when the funds will be released. We have been told there's a high probability the funds will come out over a process of multiple payments over a period of time. The reason they said that there's way, way too much money in this system to be able to release all of it at one time, because it would create a havoc on the current global economy. Now, how often and how much, what percentage of payments, I don't know. They haven't told any of us, but just plan on the fact that you're probably not going to get it all at once. And then also remember, I had talked about there will be what was called an initial payment to you, and then after that we're going to set up our own credit union, and all of you will be able to, I will establish an account for you, and after an initial payment your funds will be placed in your credit union account. And the reason we're going with a credit union instead of a bank is because credit unions are owned by their members. So those of us involved in this exchange, we will have our own credit union, and I'll probably name it the Sedona Connection Credit Union. Okay? I don't know yet. That's just a thought that I'm sharing. But we're going to have our own credit union, our funds in that credit union, so we are the ones who have the control over what goes on with our funds, and we're not regulated by a banking system that we have absolutely no control over. So as of now, that is the process, and things are looking very, very good. If you are really interested in expanding yourself, understand and know there's a lot more opportunity to come in and purchase the dong, at $62 a million. When you send it out, I have a default payment of, $312 for 5 million dong, and that dong is scheduled to pay out at $1.50. And as mentioned, as of now, it appears we might be starting that in late September to the end of the year. So that's good news for all of us, and I hope you find this all well. Thank you again for listening to this today, and hopefully I'll see you next week on the program. Okay? All right. Thanks a lot. Okay. Bye-bye.